Howdy, it's Jim Arado, and this is late September 2022. We're at, I guess, it's a little place called Icy Strait Point in Hoona, Alaska. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing Hoona correctly. I think I am, though. Anyway, this was one of the stops on our cruise ship, and it was a very interesting little stop. And basically, they have some nice little shops and things to see, kind of a little walkway. It kind of leads you through some places. And they've also got these little gondolas that take you, they take you up. And this first one, the green one, is actually, I believe it's free. We didn't pay anything to get onto it. And then when you get up the mountain, about halfway up, there's a red one. And I think you pay to get on that one. And we took that one also as part of our excursion. But this gondola thing was a little scary. And, I've been on the ski lifts, in Gatlinburg and down at the Red River Gorge and things like that. It always, these things always play with my head. They freak me out a little bit. But I kind of enjoy it too. It's fun being scared. And as you can tell, this day was a little rainy. I've seen other videos people have put up on the gondolas here at Icy Strait Point. Find one of those that's clear on a nice sunny day. It might give you a little better look at what's going on. Yeah, they've got all sorts of little adventure things up here to do too. If you look around, you'll see some little bridges and things like that. They also advertise that they have the world's the world's longest, the world's largest zip rider. Kind of like a zip line thing. That might be something to think about next time we're in the area. But on this particular day, this was our one excursion. We actually, and I've mentioned this in other videos. We were gonna do this cruise back in 2020, and then COVID, and it got delayed a year, and then COVID delayed it again another year. And Norwegian Cruise Lines, I'm sure like other cruise lines, basically offered us more if we would decline a refund at the moment. So this was a really nice trip, and I don't believe we paid anything at all for our excursions. We ended up doing 3, and this was one of them. It looked interesting, and it was. I taped pretty much the entire thing. I thought I'd let you watch it. The first 15 minutes or so, and I think the last 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to be seeing the gondola ride up and the gondola ride down. So once we get to the top, they had a little fella came out and gave us like a kind of a tram ride at the top. I think it was supposed to be kind of a history and nature kind of ride, but of course it was very rainy. It was a bit miserable in many ways. Plus, I didn't think about it when we left the ship. We were going to be going way up and getting colder. So it was a very cold day. But the little guy at the top gave us a really interesting ride, and it had a lot of heart. And I really enjoyed it, actually. It ended up, we really didn't see any wildlife of note, but it was still an experience I'm going to remember forever. And once you get kind of halfway up, there's a little place where you, as you'll see here in a moment, you get off that first gondola. I think there's another shop or two. Something else I liked on Icy Strait Point, it seemed like they had fire pits. Little fires just about everywhere. Where you could kind of warm up around them. That was very cozy. And, as we were going from September, kind of getting into October, it had a kind of a nice fall feel and smell to it, and I really liked that a lot. And just for the record, because I'm a little OCD about these kind of things, I went back and looked at the name of this excursion, just in case you care. It was the Mountaintop Forest Tram. That was the name of this excursion when we did it with Norwegian. And yeah, it was kind of a last minute add-on. We had we were planning a different excursion and it got canceled, and we sort of added this one sort of last minute. But I'm glad we did. It was nice. And there's a little fire area I mentioned. Oh, and after you took the one tram up, there was another ship docked in this area, and it was another Norwegian, one of the bigger Norwegian ships, which we went over and took a look at it. I thought that was pretty neat. And then we went into this building, which, nice little place to kind of hang out. They had a little mural. And this is where we basically said, here's our excursion ticket. And they gave us a wristband to go up this next gondola right there. Hello. And yeah, the door kind of opens automatically. It shuts here in a little bit. It's, yeah, I think no matter how many times I do something like this, it's going to mess with your head. And especially on this second one up. I closed my eyes a little bit. It was just a little too much at times. But it was a cool view. And of course, when you come back down, it's still freaky, but it's not as freaky as it is on the way up, in my opinion. And while we're on our way up, just to give you a little information about Icy Strait Point, this was provided by our wonderful concierge on the ship. His name was Gian. And every day, or I guess the evening before we would go into a town, he would leave information on where we were going in our room, and I thought that was pretty cool. But he printed out some information, and he said that surrounded by towering rainforest and the abundant waters of Port Frederick and Icy Strait Point is a destination that offers unparalleled access to adventure, wilderness, wildlife, and genuine native Tlingit hospitality. Located in Alaska's largest native Tlingit village of Hoona, about 35 miles west of Juneau, Icy Strait Point features 20-plus exciting tours, a restored 1912 Alaska salmon cannery and museum, nature trails, restaurants, 100% Alaskan-owned retail shops, and even a beach. Eagles soar overhead and whales are regularly seen from the shore. The immediate area around the tender dock is easy to explore on foot, and nowhere is further away than a 10 to 15 minute walk. There are no taxis or rental cars there yet. A few locals enterprising might start offering along the shoreline from Hoona when there is a ship in town, but that is not official. Otherwise, public transportation and cruise lines' private tours is available. And it goes on a little bit. I mean, there's quite a bit to do there. The whole Alaskan-owned thing, the whole thing is Alaskan-owned. And it's a very unique spot. Yeah, they mentioned the beach. I did see a lot of people, as soon as they got off the ship, went and were looking for shells, and I thought that was kind of neat. I didn't do that, but I thought it was pretty cool. And I'll put up another video of the shops and everything when you kind of walk into the area, because it was cool too. A little more information on the history of this area. The Tlingit people, I know I'm mispronouncing that, settled Hoona 2,000 years ago when they were forced to abandon their original village because of advancing glaciers. Translated, it means where the north wind doesn't blow. The Tlingit, always respectful of their environment, lived a subsistent life, surviving off the bountiful waters and lush forests. And by the way, again, my head is on the gondola ride at this moment. It's you're always thinking about what if something happened right about this point, because it would be one heck of a drop. And it goes on and gives a little more information about the locals. Our tram driver here in a bit will also give some more information. But this brochure kind of talks about how they've lived in southeast Alaska for over 10,000 years. And yeah, and again, they had a ton of kind of cultural shows and things like that in the area. We got off our cruise ship as early as we could. This was a later excursion. And we kind of went and roamed the area and explored and just enjoyed enjoyed the basics here, and then later I think this was like a 3:30 excursion, maybe a 2:30 one. So we had a couple of hours. We didn't have a whole lot of time. You had to do this excursion, then get back to the ship. But I think they were sort of closing up the gondolas on the ride back down, as you might catch on to that as we go back down. Check out the views though; those are scary and great at the same time. And we try to take a few pictures again. The little rain droplets were there, and of course everywhere we went it was raining. So my camera, yeah, there's little specks on my camera here and there if you look real close. Obviously on the windows too. And just a little info on that zip rider. Icy Strait Point features the world's largest zip rider, with 6 5,330-foot zip lines dropping 1,330 feet. After launching, you will quickly accelerate to speeds exceeding 60 miles an hour as you soar 300 feet above the rainforest below. If you are looking for a one-of-a-kind experience, then the zip rider is for you. With up to 6 guests descending at once, this is also a great family or group activity. And then it mentions the shopping. Shopping can be a huge amount of stress in most Alaskan towns. Here at Icy Strait Point, our cannery shops are just a few steps away from the dock, making it easy to find the right souvenirs to bring home to your friends and family. All of our shops are Alaskan or locally owned and operated. So, yeah, so that's just some basics there on the area. And again, our tram driver will give us some more information here shortly. And we're about to come to a stop, finally, on the second gondola ride. And you can see what's up here. I'm sure that if if anybody comes back up here over the next year or two, they've got big plans. And, especially with the cruise ships coming in and everything, I'm absolutely certain that this is going to balloon and be something bigger quickly. And I'm sure COVID kind of put a pause on some of the stuff going on here, but I'm sure it'll pick back up really, really quick. But yeah, so we're kind of at the top of the mountain area. Getting out of there. And I will say a couple of things. I know, my wife found probably some of her favorite pieces of jewelry that we found on this trip at Icy Strait Point. I found a book. I'll probably talk about that book a little bit later. I found a book that I enjoyed here also. They had some really cool they had, if you wanted postcards, patches, the kind of stuff the trinkety stuff I like. They definitely had that. And they had some higher end, more artsy stuff too that was pretty cool. And again, I'll go through the shops a little bit later. But yeah, it's a nice little area kind of at the top of the mountain or at the end of the gondola ride. You see the gondolas coming in. And there's a little map there. And again, it was cold, and I don't think anybody had quite prepared for how cold it was. They were watching the gondolas come up. Another little fire up there. I think they had some sort of food truck. But yeah, I think we're about to start our tour. So yeah, check this out with me.
Let's get going. Thank you for your patience, folks. I appreciate that. You got to stay on schedule, and it is 3. And we're supposed to have 43, but I guess the other half got lost somewhere. Okay, a little information about this mountaintop there. As you can see, everything is brand new up here. These tours. The gondolas are brand new this year. They come up to the mountain. And the one down below was new last year between the two docks. And this mountaintop this mountain is known as White Alice Mountain. And you probably noticed the cement foundations all over the mountaintop here. This was actually a military installation for many years. They came in, they built this road all the way from downtown Hoona up to the top of the mountain. They helicoptered in all all their equipment and everything they needed to put their. They had their own bunkhouse, they had their own mess hall, administration building, their own power plant, and also their own shops, you know, for their all their equipment, their front end loaders and graders and cats, because they had to keep this road open even through the winter. So they were pretty busy at winter time, because some of their people bought homes downtown, and so they brought their families up. So they had to get up to work every morning and go home at night. So they had to make sure the road was open for them at all times. And then they were ordered to pull out of here. So they start tearing down everything, all their towers, and they have towers for their radio antennas, towers for their radars, and they were all over up here. So I got to know them pretty well, actually, because I was back then I was a fuel man, local fuel man. And at the end of my deliveries downtown, then I start hauling up here 1,000 gallons at a time. Which they take about 12,000 gallons, so I'd be getting overtime by doing that. So I do about five or six trips if I could, before it got too late. So I got to know them pretty well. They invited me in for lunch or dinner. But when they pulled out of here, they had to tear everything down. But the only thing they couldn't take out was the foundations. That's why they're still there. And they moved out of here. They helicoptered everything out of here, like the same way they brought in everything. So, our native corporation contacted the Department of Defense. That's the question. Of course, it took, I don't know, it took about a year and a half, I think, before something even happened. But we were able to acquire it. So we had a mountain for a lot of years, the road up to the very top, and we didn't know what to do with it. And then Icy Strait Point came about. 2004 was our very first year. In 2007 we had that zip rider constructed, and so we had access. We brought everybody up by bus. So it was almost an hour bus ride. One of them old bluebirds. So we'd bring them up here to ride that zip rider. It's been a real popular venue. And it still is. So it kept busy. But they were shut down for a while this morning because of the high winds. So they usually do when there's very high winds on the mountaintop. It's a safety factor, so they shut it down for everybody's safety. But I see they're back up again, back up and running. So the winds have died down significantly. So they cranked her up again. So this year, everything is new. This tour is new. And the gondola is brand new this spring. The gondola comes up to the top of the mountain. That's a beautiful ride. And I felt the same way about it when I told about the zip rider. I told my son, well, I'm going to have to bite the bullet because they want me to try out the new tour up on top of the mountain since I'm the old timer. And I'm usually the one that will make sure it's feasible because I'm the old timer. And I work with new drivers and guides and teaching them. So they wanted me to come up and try it out, see how it would work. And boy, it worked out beautiful. It still is too. So I really appreciate that. And so I told them, well, so do the mountaintop tram. I said, I could drive up to work every morning and drive down. I said, no, I've never had the gondola. So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And my son was on, I had him on my phone, I was talking to him. He rode it 3 times before. And when they first had the inauguration, whatever ceremony, to open it up, and he's the city administrator for the city of Luna. And he said, oh, Dad, no problem, it's a nice smooth ride, you'll enjoy it. Well, it was okay as long as he was on the phone, and all of a sudden, halfway up, all of a sudden it stopped. I said, oh my God, the thing broke down. He said, what do you mean? I said, it stopped. Right up at the highest point here. The damn thing just broke down. And he said, no, don't worry. He said, usually they'll stop it when they got somebody with a walker or it's handicapped, with a wheelchair, they'll stop it altogether to help get them on or off. They waited a while, and sure enough, it started up again. It rested me up. But I finally got used to it after a month. So that's how I get to work every morning. I go down. I gotta go down to the bottom, then ride the other gondola over to the other adventure center. Then walk over to get clocked out over to the office, the old office. And then drive home. And home is uptown in Hoona. Our village of Hoona is about a mile and a half up the road from Icy Strait Point. There's a paved road all the way up to town. Got a guardrail on the water side, on the waterfront side. And outside the guardrail, we have a real nice sea walk, we call it. And we dedicated it to all veterans. We call it the Veterans Memorial Sea Walk. It's a real wide sea walk, almost as wide as this road here. And it's all along the waterfront outside the guardrail all the way up to town. So some people choose to hike up there, especially in the weather time. It's about a 45-minute hike, taking the time. And we're starting to get a few more shops uptown. A lot of independents. We got a lot of independent whale watching tours uptown, fishing charters. So everybody's being kept busy all the time. And you can also you'll see a lot of totem poles starting to show up. As we're starting to restore a lot of our totem poles. Well, they're not original, but we know the design, the ones we lost in the fire. I'm referring to the big fire of 44. I don't remember it, it's too small then. I remember bits and pieces of it, how scary it was. And when our entire waterfront village was burning to the ground. And there was no men at home. They were all out fishing. There were just women, children, and elders. The women tried to form a bucket brigade. Of course, back then, there was no fire truck. But they got overwhelmed. The fire was just raging. The wind was just right. Northwest wind blows right up into the brigade. So it packed that fire. It started at one end of town, went right through the entire village. Our waterfront houses used to be right on the waterfront, on piling. And The other houses are where you'll see the old houses now. And I think our main street is about 12 feet wide. There's just a boardwalk back then. So we lost all our homes. So we were homeless for 2.5 years. They brought it, the houses, the first thing you notice is how similar they are right on the waterfront. See the cement chimneys? That's the one, we refer to them as the war houses. But they were military housing actually that was being barged to the South Pacific. And so they were uninsulated. So the first winter we spent in one of them, oh my gosh. Everything was freezing up on us, and even had ice on the inside of our walls. And it was pretty miserable. I remember that because when we finally moved into our new home, I was just starting first grade then. So I remember that very clearly. My dad right away, he made a large attic. So he made 2 bedrooms up in the attic. For us boys, 2 older boys had one, and 2 younger ones. I was the youngest of 4 brothers. Had the other one, and the girls had the bedroom downstairs next to my parents. 2-bedroom downstairs. Pretty small units. So, raised in one of them. But that was, you'll see pictures of them in the museum down there, the fire of 44. And all our fathers, all the men didn't even know about it. It was quite a shock when they came home from fishing. No village left. And they had to relocate us. Some of us were relocated down at Icy Strait Point. The cannery then was in operation. They had cabins for the workers. So they put some of us up in them cabins down there, and my family got sent over to Excursion Inlet. It's across the straits. In fact, you can see it over there from on top of the mountain there. See the island, Purpose Island, right in front of the entrance into Excursion Inlet. And that's where my family was sent. Not only was a salmon cannery, but it was over there was also a prisoner of war camp. So they had a 12-foot wall built around the village over there. Housing for the cannery workers. So that's where they sent us for a couple of years. While in the meantime they were setting up these units in town, and that included water and sewer, which we didn't have before. Had to pack water, and had to use outhouses. So very primitive. But now I've watched so much as has happened for our little village, especially from this industry, food industry. As we started off, I grew up as a commercial fisherman. And we kind of started losing that. And they started logging, so I did that. And by then I was married, starting a family, and so I went and started logging. I was a log truck driver for 30 years. And we were only allowed so many alien board feet out of here. And there's a view of our Paskai Valley here. And that's where all the bears head when they leave the mountain. They go down the Paskai River. Behind us, you can see look like a little bay there. That's where the Paskai River comes out. And that waterway out there is Icy Straits. That's where you guys came in on your ship. And I don't know if you can see across the other side of the body of water, but you can see the mainland over there. And that's where Juneau is. So we can get to Juneau, our capital city, within 15 minutes by plane. They usually fly right through here in the valley, because our airport is right down below us. So we usually see the planes coming in and out of here, down in the valley. And you watch the road system down there and look for white buses that take the guests out to Sky River, because that is also private property, belongs to our Honeytotem Corporation. So we were able to build platforms overlooking the river. Got 3 platforms about a quarter mile apart. So we take guests down there to watch they're feeding on the salmon in the river there. So that's a real popular tour also. So I better get moving. I don't want you guys to be late. So I think, what, 4:30 is your all aboard time? Pardon me? Oh, 5:30. Oh, no, I could be lollygagging then. What the heck? But no, I know some of you were kind of worried about our time getting back, but we'll be back in plenty of time. Time to get you down there and back aboard your ship. Yeah, and that's the beginning of our mountain range too. To the left of us comes all the way around our bay of Port Frederick, and where you guys are docked, your ship is docked, is right at the entrance into our bay. It's a large bay. That's where we get all our seafood. And the bay runs up 18 miles up to the head of the bay. 2.5 miles at its widest point. Very, very deep water. That's how we're able to build cruise ship docks. Because of the deep water. They did a feasibility study before they decided to go ahead on it. And we call our bay, our Frigate people call it Kutska'i. Our ancestors named it years ago. Translated, that's Brown Bear Bay. Because there's so many brown bear on the island. And the latest survey the Department of Fish and Game did a few years back. It took them 2 years to do it. Because this is a pretty large island, 75 miles long by 50 miles wide, 3rd largest island in Alaska. Kitchikoff Island, name of it. And they did a survey to determine how many bear we had on the island. They estimate between 3,500 and 4,000 bears. So they have a number of 4 to 1. Only 930 of us year-round residents here in Nona. And there's probably about 1,400 on the entire island between 3 other communities. And we're not connected to them. We're on the same island, but they chose not to connect to anybody. They like their seclusion. That would be Alpha Cove, Pelican, Nancy Spring. So, like Alpha Cove probably got about 50 people, mostly all fishermen. And then Pelican is probably about 150, maybe got about the same. So we're the largest village on the island. But we're still outnumbered by 4 to 1 by the bear. Then when one of your ships coming, our population quadruples. So there was a lot of hesitation. A lot of people couldn't make up their mind. They were afraid, because they'll get overrun. Because we're too small. But we told them, hey, this is our chance to get some economy for our village. So we finally won out in the end. Now almost everybody is really glad that we did. Because we're able to do so many things for our little community. All our streets were like this, dirt streets, potholes and all. So now all our streets are paved down there. So we're just really growing and improving. A lot of our young people are starting to come back home. And a lot of them are on our board of directors of our native corporation. So young minds at work. So they're the ones that are making this happen for us. Our CEO is Russell Dick. He's a Stanford graduate. And he became our CEO just a few years ago. And we've got some other young college graduates on the board of directors. So I have a pretty good influence. The community because I'm pretty active. So a lot of them would come to me and ask for their support whenever they're running for the board. And I like what they have to say and what they want to have done. And I start campaigning for them. And so far it's been working really well because I've been really pushing to get more younger people on our board. I think we have two more that are been hanging in there forever, and I think they've outlived their usefulness anymore. I think generally, in my opinion. And I'm trying to convince them to step down and let some younger people in there now. But they get a pretty darn good stipend, so they're actually making a living off of being a board member. Yeah, everything is hiding away today. So we had we have a lot of Sitka blacktail deer like to hang out. We were seeing them all over the place just yesterday too, and haven't seen them. Oh, we saw one today. Yeah, this morning one ran across the road right in front of us. That was the only one. But they don't like the nasty weather either, so they get under the shelter of the big tree, the big hemlock, the spruce, hunker down. So the bear are pretty scarce now too. Moved down to the salmon streams. We have a lot of salmon streams in our bay, about eight different rivers where the salmon go up. We've got 5 different species of salmon. We start off with the pinks, so the first ones to show up. But in the May, part of June, and the Celts, and the silvers, and the reds. The king salmon, we get the king salmon year round though. Yeah. So all the other 4, we return annually. And it's pretty interesting about our salmon. They go out to the ocean for 4 years. Actually, they leave the rivers when they're fried. They're really tiny minnows. They stay out in the ocean for 4 years, and then they return after 4 years to go up the same river and spawn on the same site where they were born. It's amazing how they know exactly. So the scientists, marine biologists, are still trying to figure that out. And they go up the same river that they left and spawn the same spot where they were born. And that's what attracts all the bears. And they love feeding on salmon. And so do we. We harvest all the salmon. And right now, another thing we're harvesting is all the berries. We have tons of berries on the island, different types. So the salmon berries are gone. The raspberries are gone. Wild strawberries are gone. Thimbleberries are gone. Now it's blueberries and huckleberries and blackberries and gray currants. starting to ripen up now. The gray currants are the last ones in the fall that ripen. They grow in clusters like grapes. They're not as big as grapes, but boy, they're really tasty. They look powdery gray when they're ripe. Boy, they're really good. So we got all those different types of berries that everybody loves to harvest. Our kids, we got about 140 students, kindergarten through 12. And because of this industry, we've been able to do so much for our kids. You know, that's the thing I'm really happy about. We're really grateful to all you people that are making that happen for us by choosing to come here. Checking out our different tours and what we have to see, what we have to offer. And we were able to do so much for our kids. And that really makes me happy. Because I still have grandkids in school here. So, yeah, the most recent project was a brand new gymnasium. Nice, huge gymnasium. Got everything in it. You know, got exercise rooms, all the equipment, weight rooms with all the equipment, Olympic size swimming pool, heated swimming pool. They open that to the public too. Got certain hours, usually in the evening or early in the morning before school. There's a basketball court, volleyball, wrestling. So now they use alumni gym, and it's a small little gym. Now they use it for public gatherings. So a lot of things is happening in our community because of this industry, and we're really grateful for that. So there's something I like to do because I am a clan leader. I'm the clan leader of the Wooshki town. That's the shark clan, eagle shark. And see, we consist of two moieties. We're either eagle or raven. And what determines which one we are is our mother. We are whatever our mothers are. And our father is always the opposite. See, my mother is eagle shark, the Wooshki town. My dad is raven of the seagull clan, the raven clan. That's the town. But the eagle marries a raven marries an eagle. That's our cultural way. So the interesting thing is I probably never would have had the opportunity to become a leader because I got three older brothers, and it starts with the eldest. That was the first one in line to become a leader who chooses to work at it, work hard, spend the time with the leader before him, which I did. And what happened there is all my brothers married other eagles. So they were double eagles, and that in our culture that's a big no-no. And but young people, when they fall in love, they don't care about that culture. I looked out. Oh, I got married, but I didn't realize that I was married right. Luckily, my wife was Raven. And so I was the last one in line, and so I got selected by my uncle before me, who was the clan leader before me, and he named me as his successor. So I had to spend a lot of time with him as he groomed me for the position. And that was 12 years ago. And he was bedridden by then. So now I'm checking out my different nephews because we follow the bloodline for leadership. And so far I haven't found a nephew that I think has the interest and wants to take the time. So that's just part of our culture. But as a as a clan leader, there's something I want to do for you people, and it's a way of showing our gratitude. I want to do a welcome in our Mecca language. It's a welcome that's passed down through the generations, and when our people came to our shores in their canoes to visit, we were always on the shore to greet them and welcome them. Since you are our guests, and you people have done so much for our little community on this island, because we're known as the most thriving little village in Alaska because of the success in this industry. And that's because of all of you. So I want to do this welcome for you. I'll translate as I go along. And it goes like this. Shaudanegi, honorable people. Adachosani, children of this earth. A big thank you for coming to see us. It is so good to see you. To all you men, women, grandparents, young people and children. It fills our heart when you come to our island to see us. So welcome. I'll thank the cheese. I'll thank the cheese. And then I have a saying that I like to use too is on date weekend. Yes, on date weekend. Shake my hand. And we will be friends forever until we meet again. Because we don't have a word. We don't have a word for goodbye in our second language. Because we like to think that one day, somehow, you'll decide to come and see us again. So that's always our hope. That's why we say until we meet again. Okay, here we go, folks. Thank you very much for your...
And how real was that? You know, I feel like in some ways we did this excursion on not so great of a day. It was rainy. It was cold. We didn't see any. We didn't see any wildlife really. I mean, it was still pretty. It was still nice. But I also feel like, you know, since we weren't distracted by wildlife, and I would have loved to have seen, you know, obviously any critter we could have seen, but that fella gave us one heck of a very real story. You know, Icy Strait Point is new. It's just starting to you know, it's in its infancy, and that was a local guy giving us just a sincere and honest, you know, description of his life. You know, talking about the clans and the double eagle older brothers that he has. You know, I would have liked to have heard more about like how taboo is that. You know, and even the berries. Talking about the berries. You know, that's just a very real story about someone from this area as this, you know, as Icy Strait Point is developing. And I really appreciated that. And even the little you know, kind of greeting that he did in there at the end, I thought was very sweet. And this was a real treat. You know, maybe an understated treat, but you know, a real rare opportunity to listen to someone's story and have it told. You know, there was no Photoshop there. There was no he wasn't trying to make things look more glittery than they are. And I just enjoyed that, and I thought it was just really nice. And we're back on the gondolas again, going down. And again, check out that view. Kind of tilted. Oh yeah, and you can see one of the cruise ships down there. I tilted the camera up a bit, just because there was a seat in front of us. But yeah, you get an idea of what's going on there. I wanted to mention too, speaking of stories and people in this area, I did pick up several of the gift shops sold some books, and I picked up one called Wilderness Blues by T.B. Botts. And I picked it up because it looked interesting. It was local, kind of self-published kind of thing. It was autographed. It was $15, and I thought that was reasonable for what it was. This was an enjoyable book about a local. The guy moved to this area, I believe, in the 70s. Him, his wife, kids, and they joined a religious end of times group. And he gives the story. He was kind of miserable during the time, but it brought him to Alaska, and he and his wife and family would later leave that group, but he would still stay in Alaska, and it was just a neat book. Again, an honest story about someone, and he's honest about his unhappiness. Anyway, it was just a neat little book. I enjoyed it. And just nice little honest story about someone's life in this area, kind of 1970s, 1980s. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that book. And again, it's sold in just about every gift shop up here. I saw it more than once. But yeah, check out the view on the gondolas. And it was a cold day. We just had we spent a good hour pretty much outside, even in this gondola. And when we got back to the ship, it was just nice to go back. We had dinner, and we went back to our rooms, made some coffee, and just cuddled up in our nice bed. And it was just a nice cozy day. This was a good way to end our day here at Icy Strait Point 2. And like I said, as we transition gondolas down here and stuff, I think they even make a couple of announcements. If you're using the gondola, please get on the gondola and go on down. So I think they were kind of wrapping things up. I'm certain that as the cruise ships, as people start to get on their cruise ship and leave for the day, I'm sure every single shop, every business closes probably at that moment as the last passengers go back to their boats. And again, that the little train ride, I would be curious to see how that evolves over the next several years, as they build the place up, as there's more to it. I would just be very curious. And even our tram driver was talking about his hesitation to try some of the the gondola when it first opened. He also mentions that earlier in the day, because of the weather, they could not do the Skyrider. They had to close down the Skyrider because of the weather. And that, that's something I read up on and I heard a bit about, is that with Alaska, because of the weather, excursions can get canceled and kind of reshuffled because things are so unpredictable. And excursions are such an odd thing. I know initially we were given so much credit to use on excursions, and we scheduled one excursion, and it was to go from Skagway into the Yukon, well, actually into the province of Yukon, and that fell apart. That got canceled before our cruise even started. So we used those credits to do some other excursions. But someone on the ship told us that there's kind of red tape involved going into the Yukon and all that. But they said, I think Canada was being difficult, and that's why they had to cancel that excursion. So we ended up taking those credits, and that was kind of a pricier excursion, actually. So we took those credits, and we did this excursion and a couple of others. And like I said too, we had something else planned that fell apart, so we ended up doing this one. But I enjoyed this. I thought this had a whole lot of heart to it.
Oh, we should have hung up there for like another 20 minutes.
Attention. Please observe that today's operation will end in 15 minutes. We wish you a pleasant journey.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, there's those announcements.
Attention. Please observe that today's operation will end in 15 minutes.
No, it's still yours. Yeah, and there were some of those announcements I mentioned, and we're transitioning gondolas right now. Well, if you watch my other video, you'll see that there are, well, especially when we get down to the bottom, it was much more crowded earlier than in the day than it was here. As I think everybody was pretty much exhausted at this point. No matter how much time you stayed at Icy Strait Point, you were cold and tired at this point in the day. But and we're getting on that second gondola and going down. And just because there's a little time left and because I'm thinking about it, I'll give you the intro, or just the first paragraph or two on Wikipedia about Icy Strait Point. I like their description. And Wikipedia says, Icy Strait Point is a privately owned tourist destination just outside of the small village of Hoona, Alaska. It is located on Chicago Island and is named after the nearby Icy Strait. Owned by Hoona Totem Corporation, it is the only privately owned cruise destination in Alaska, as most stops are owned by the cities in which they are located. Hoona Totem Corporation is owned by approximately 1,350 Alaskan natives with Aboriginal ties to Hoona and the Glacier Bay area. Many of them are of the Tlingit people. And then it goes on to give a little history and talks about how it was founded and all. But very interesting that this is just such a kind of privately owned by the locals. They've done something. They've kind of made this explode and really become something special for for the cruise lines. Yeah, it's kind of trippy seeing those other little cars going up beside you. But there they are. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I know it was kind of long, but I hope you stuck with it. I kind of enjoyed watching this over again, after experiencing it. Yeah, so anyway, I'll go ahead and let this play out through the end of the car ride, just so you can watch it. Thanks.
And I'll need to stretch it.
Their salmon class would have been over in
that's
this
my
area.
guess, yeah.
somewhere.
I wonder how that went. I'll be eager to hear about that. Lean back, feet up. I guess that's the zip line thing.